All 23 Malaysians detained in Israel to be flown out within 48 hours. Hamas agrees to release all Israeli captives pending conditions. Hello, good afternoon and Salam Malaysia Madani. Thanks for joining us. I'm Olivia Nicholas and you're watching World Today. All 23 Malaysian volunteers from the Global Summit Flotilla who were detained in Asdod are expected to be flown out within the next 48 hours. Summit Nusantara Flotilla Command Centre SNCC Director General Dato' Dr. Sani Arabi Abdul Alim Arabi said they are expected to depart either from Istanbul or Ankara. This, he said, follows negotiation efforts by Prime Minister Dato' Sri Anwar Ibrahim and Turkish President Recep Tayyip Erdogan.
InsyaAllah dijangkakan dengan usaha yang telah dimainkan oleh Yang Amat Berhormat Perdana Menteri selaku penau Sumut Nusantara dan juga pihak Turki iaitu Presiden Erdogan, Sumut Nusantara Command Centre menjangkakan fasa untuk menerbangkan mereka daripada Ashdod akan berlaku dalam tempoh 48 jam lagi.
He added that Malaysia and Turkey are expected to be among the first countries to bring home their citizens. Earlier, Dato' Sri Anwar contacted President Erdogan to arrange for the Malaysians to travel alongside Turkish nationals following positive developments from diplomatic discussions with several key world leaders. Meanwhile, Dato' Dr. Sani Arabi said diplomatic negotiations are being conducted at the highest level involving leaders from Turkey, Qatar, the United States and other strategic partners to secure the Malaysians' release. He said Malaysia has sought the assistance of President Erdogan, Qatari Prime Minister Sheikh Mohammed bin Abdul Rahman Al Thani and United States Secretary of State Marco Rubio.
Ini adalah satu perkembangan yang baik yang kita harus nampak dan harus kita tambah semangat untuk kita memberi sokongan Malaysia dan juga ASEAN bersama dengan pihak-pihak dunia laksanakan tugasan supaya kebebasan dan juga famine itu dapat ditamatkan segera. Atau kumpulan-kumpulan yang bukan di bawah kawalan Hatta Malaysia akan berlayar atau lebih daripada itu melaksanakan aksi-aksi mendesak secara non-violent.
Malaysia's close relations with the United States, Qatar and Turkey had greatly assisted efforts to secure the release of the volunteers, a fact acknowledged by Turkey's National Security Chief Dr. Ibrahim Kalin. Although Malaysia has no ties with the Zionist regime of Israel, diplomatic channels with friendly nations had played a crucial role in managing the matter. Hamas says that it accepts several parts of the U.S. President Donald Trump's plan for a ceasefire in Israel's nearly two-year war on Gaza, but that some elements of the proposal require further negotiations. Hamas handed over its response to Trump's 20-point plan to halt the war on Friday, hours after Trump gave the group until Sunday to respond to the proposal. Trump's 20-point plan included demands for an immediate ceasefire, an exchange of all remaining 48 Israeli captives, 20 are believed to be alive, for Palestinian prisoners, the introduction of a transitional government led by an international body, and the disarmament of Hamas. The group's response, which did not address the issue of disarmament, stated that it had agreed to release all occupation captives, both living and the remains, according to the exchange formula outlined in President Trump's proposal, with the provision of field conditions necessary for the exchange. It added that it was ready to immediately enter negotiations through mediators to discuss the details of the exchange. The group also said it is ready to hand over the administration of the Gaza Strip to a Palestinian body of technocrats based on Palestinian national consensus and with Arab and Islamic support. Japan's top government spokesperson Yoshimasa Hayashi said on Friday that enhancing the country's cyber response capabilities is an urgent priority. The statement came after the impact from a cyber attack on the country's beer and beverage giant Asahi Group holding entered a fifth day. Speaking to reporters at a news conference, Hayashi said that the government was investigating the details and the damage from the cyber attack together with relevant ministries. Known for its super dry beer, Nikka whiskey, as well as non-alcoholic beverages, Asahi suspended operations in Japan and on Monday, including order processing, shipping and call center functions after a cyber attack caused a system outage. The company began processing orders for some products on Wednesday by visiting customers in person and handwriting orders. While it continues to take orders for food and soft drinks, it has not taken further orders for alcoholic beverages to prioritize outgoing shipments, which began on Friday for the first batch of manually filled orders. Asahi said it continues to work with investigative authorities on the cyber attack. U.S. President Donald Trump's administration froze $2.1 billion in Chicago transit funding on Friday, starving another Democratic city of funds as a bid to end the government shutdown failed again in the Senate.
Mrs. Gillibrand.
On the shutdown's third day, Trump ramped up pressure on Democrats to end the standoff and agreed to a Republican plan that will restore government funding. That failed in a 54-44 Senate vote, short of the chamber's 60-vote standard, ensuring that the shutdown will last until at least Monday. The administration has now frozen at least $28 billion in funding for Democratic cities and states, escalating Trump's campaign to use the extraordinary power of the U.S. government to punish political rivals. Illinois Governor J.B. Pritzker, a high-profile Trump's critic seen as a possible 2028 Democratic presidential candidate, said the funding freeze amounted to hostage-taking. The White House said it was also identifying funds that could be withheld from Portland, Oregon, a left-leaning city that was home to high-profile protests during Trump's first term. Trump has also threatened to fire more federal workers beyond the 300,000 he's forcing out this year, and dozens of agencies have submitted workforce reduction plans.
Is not agreed to. Mr. President.
Czechs began voting on Friday in a two-day general election, which the party of self-described triumphs, Andrej Babis, is expected to top. However, without gaining an outright majority, the result may spell tricky negotiations ahead. A possible return to power of the billionaire ex-premier could draw the Czech Republic, an ally of Ukraine, closer to EU mavericks Hungary and Slovakia, and turn relations with both Kyiv and Brussels rocky. Babis is campaigning in the EU and NATO member of 11 million people on pledges of welfare and halting military aid to Ukraine. Many voters blame the centre-right coalition government of Prime Minister Petr Fiala for ignoring problems at home while providing aid to Ukraine. Casting his ballot in the eastern city of Ostrava, Babis labelled the vote as a showdown between him and Fiala. Nonetheless, Babis and ANO party tops the opinion polls, with support exceeding 30%, ahead of Fiala's Together grouping with about 20%. Both runways at Munich airport were closed on Friday evening for the second time in less than 24 hours after drones were again sighted. German air traffic control restricted flight operations at Munich airport as a precautionary measure due to unconfirmed drone sightings and suspended them until further notice. A spokesperson for airport police said both of Munich's two runways were closed. The captain on a London-bound airport whose departure was cancelled told passengers that runways had been closed because of drone sightings near the takeoff and landing runways, and that police helicopters were aloft. Munich airport was closed for several hours late on Thursday and in the small hours after unconfirmed drone sightings that disrupted dozens of flights. European aviation has repeatedly been thrown into chaos in recent weeks by drone sightings that some authorities have blamed on Russia. The Kremlin had denied any involvement. German Interior Minister Alexander Dobrindt promised early on Friday to bring forward legislation making it easier for the police to ask the military to shoot drones down. Next, Sean Diddy Combs sentenced to more than 4 years in prison. The death toll in Indonesian school collapse rose to 13 on Friday, but dozens were still believed buried under the rubble without signs of life days ahead after the disaster. Distraught families have been waiting anxiously near the site in the town of Sidoarjo on Indonesia's island of Java, hoping to receive any news of their loved ones since the building collapsed on Monday. On Friday, some argued with rescuers, angrily calling for them to speed up the desperate rescue operation. Part of the multi-story boarding school collapsed suddenly on Monday as students gathered for afternoon prayers. The head of the search and rescue office in the nearby city of Surabaya, Nanang Sigit, told reporters that they found 5 more victims and they all were found dead, taking the overall death toll to 10. 2 male students who had been hit by debris were discovered on Friday in the school's ablution area. Nanang said a 3rd victim was found under debris not far from the other 2, but did not disclose details about the 4th and 5th bodies found on Friday. Officials had said 59 people were feared missing before 5 bodies were found. Investigators have been looking into the cause of the collapse, but initial signs pointed to substandard construction. A Thai court on Friday imposed the death penalty and commuted it to life imprisonment for a hitman who shot dead a former Cambodian opposition lawmaker in Bangkok in January. Ekalak Penoy, a 41-year-old former Thai Marine, was found guilty to the killing of Lim Kim Ya, 574, who was shot dead in the Old Quarter of Bangkok hours after arriving from Cambodia with his wife and brother on the 7th of January earlier this year. Ekalak was arrested in neighboring Cambodia a day later. According to Natasri Begman, a lawyer for Lim Kim Ya's widow, a Thai criminal court handed Ekalak a death sentence for premeditated murder and also found him guilty of carrying a weapon and discharging a firearm in public. Lim Kim Ya, a joint Cambodian and French citizen, was a member of the Cambodian National Rescue Party, a popular opposition movement that was dissolved by a court ahead of a 2018 election because of an alleged treason plot, which is dismissed at the time as a fabrication. Sean Diddy Combs was sentenced on Friday to more than 4 years in prison over his conviction on prostitution-related charges, with the judge rebuking the hip-hop mogul for subjecting 2 former girlfriends to years of abuse. Combs, 55, was stoic as U.S. District Judge Arun Subramaniam announced a 50-month sentence at the end of a day-long hearing in Manhattan Federal Court. He could be released in less than 3 years after receiving credit for the time he has already spent locked up at the Metropolitan Detention Center in Brooklyn since his September 2024 arrest. Combs had faced a maximum possible sentence of 20 years behind bars over his conviction in July. The jury acquitted him on the most serious charges of racketeering and sex trafficking, which could have earned him a life sentence. Those charges hinged on prosecutors' accusation that Combs used violence and threats to coerce 2 of his girlfriends to take part in immoral performances. Despite his acquittal on those charges, Subramaniam said a significant sentence was justified given the harm Combs had caused. Salvadoran journalist Mario Guevara, known for his live coverage of United States immigration raids, was deported by the U.S. authorities to El Salvador on Friday following more than 3 months in federal custody. Guevara was arrested during a No Kings protest in Atlanta and subsequently had his work permit revoked before being forcibly removed from the country despite fighting his case through the immigration system. According to Guevara, he trusted in the U.S. justice system and now believes liberty and justice is only for American citizens. He highlighted what he described as a new reality for immigrant journalists with work permits who can no longer practice their profession. Guevara, who spent almost 4 months in detention and said he suffered psychological trauma, plans to resume his journalism work after his family brings his equipment from the United States on Sunday. The case has drawn attention to challenges faced by immigrant journalists in the U.S. amid ongoing debates over press freedom and immigration enforcement policies. Bulgaria's news agency on Friday reported at least 3 people were killed in floods caused by torrential rain in Bulgaria's Black Sea resort, Rakyat. Interior Minister Daniel Mitov said 1 man who was in the building basement was killed when the water swept through, while the other 2 were rescuers who had responded to calls for help. According to a report by Bulgaria's Nova TV, quoting a regional official, more than 10 fire trucks have been deployed in the wider Black Sea region, including Rakyat, to help people in flooded areas. Nova TV footage showed water sweeping through the streets of Rakyat and vehicles destroyed by the flood water. The army sent 2 boats with rescue teams to help those in flooded areas. Defense Minister Atanas Zapryanov said the authorities are monitoring the situation and awaiting instructional requests from the Interior Ministry. Upon request, he said the Defense Ministry is ready to send additional forces. Heavy rains are forecast for the region in the next 24 hours. Coming up, FIFA unveiled Terima, the official 2026 World Cup match ball. The Harimau Malaya squad, still reeling from the sanctions imposed by FIFA on 7 heritage players, have decided to look ahead, with head coach Peter Klamovski calling up 3 new faces, including Jordan Minta, for the October 6th to the 8th centralised training camp.
The Football Association of Malaysia, FAM, said in a statement that the national football team will leave for Vientiane, Laos on Monday to prepare for their Group F match against Laos in the 2027 ASEAN Football Confederation AFC Asian Cup qualifiers at the new Laos National Stadium on Thursday. The centralised training camp will then be switched to Kuala Lumpur from the 10th to the 13th of October, ahead of the return leg tie against Laos at the National Stadium in Bukit Jalil on the 14th of October. Klamovski has retained the 22 players who featured in the Tier 1 international friendlies against Singapore and Palestine, besides bringing in 2 players from the national under-23 squad, Alif Izwan Yuslan and Muhammad Ubaidullah Samshul. Klamovski has also called up 3 new faces, namely Declan Lambert, Mintah and Muhammad Ramadan Saifullah.
FIFA has launched the official match ball for the 2026 World Cup, a vibrant affair called Terima that celebrates the tournament's historic 3-nation hosting arrangement while packing cutting-edge technology to help referees make split-second decisions.
The Adidas-designed ball takes its name from the Spanish for 3 waves, a nod to Canada, Mexico and the United States jointly staging football's biggest show for the first time.
La gente es apasionada del fútbol, quiere ver fiesta, quiere ver el juego. Entonces el balón es perfecto, que empieza la competición. Yo creo que la gente quiere que empiece la competición para disfrutar de este mundial.
Its red, green and blue color scheme honors each host nation, while a revolutionary 4-panel construction creates wave-like geometry across its surface. Terima features national symbols for each host: Canada's maple leaf, Mexico's eagle and the United States star, with gold touches paying tribute to the World Cup trophy itself. But FIFA says beyond the aesthetics lies serious technology with intentionally deep seams, creating optimal flight stability, while embossed icons boost grip in wet conditions. The ball also contains a 500Hz motion sensor chip that tracks every movement in real time, feeding precise data to video assistant referees to help with crucial decisions, including offside calls.
Manchester United boss Ruben Amorim defended his tactical approach on Friday, insisting his much criticised 3-4-2-1 system is not to blame for the team's struggles as he prepares for his 50th game in charge against promoted Sunderland. The Portuguese faces mounting pressure after United slumped to 14th in the Premier League with 2 wins from 6 games.
And I'm not saying that this team would play better in the different system or not. That is not my point. My point is, if I look the games that we didn't win, the most important thing that when I watch the game is not we lost because of the system. That is my opinion. Then people have different opinions. That's okay.
With United already out of the League Cup and having failed to qualify for Europe following last season's 15th place finish, the pressure is on Amorim to deliver in the league where they are already 8 points adrift of leaders Liverpool. While United's squad are still coming to terms with Amorim's philosophy, the manager admitted his side's performance at Brentford was disjointed but argued that inconsistency rather than tactics was the root problem.
In tennis, Novak Djokovic opened his quest for a record-extending 5th Rolex Shanghai Masters title on Friday with a hard-fought 7-6, 6-4 win against Marin Cilic. With a victory in 1 hour and 55 minutes, the 4th-seeded Serbian improved his career record to 46 at the ATP Masters 1000 tournament in China.
The win also improved Djokovic's record to 22 against Croatia's Cilic. Djokovic fired 10 aces, saved all 4 break points and finished with 21 winners and only 4 unforced errors. He converted the only service break of the match in the 3rd game of the 2nd set. With the combined ages of 79 years and 139 days, the duel between Djokovic and Cilic marked the oldest men's main draw meeting at the ATP Masters 1000 level since 1990. Djokovic became the first man to record 40 or more wins at 6 different ATP Masters 1000 events since the format was introduced in 1990. He won 68 times in Rome, 51 times in the Indian Wells, 50 in Paris, 49 in Miami, Cincinnati and Shanghai 40. The 24-time Grand Slam winner's 3rd-round opponent will be German qualifier Yannick Hanfmann, who upended number 25 seed France's Tiafoe.
Rubik Cube inventor launches Rubik chairs to remind us how to use our hands and minds.
The used books market in Al-Azbaqiyah, one of Cairo's most prominent cultural districts, has reopened after undergoing renovation. Although it is considered one of the oldest in the city, the book market has transformed and relocated several times in its 100-year-plus history. It has now moved to near its original location, with 133 shops that better categorize the books on sale by author and genre. The Labyrinth market is also divided into areas named after famous Egyptian writers, including Taha Hussein, Naguib Mahfouz, and Tawfiq al-Hakim, all of whom used to frequent the market and looked upon it as a source of inspiration. The selection is vast, with magazines and books in Arabic and English, and the books start at less than 5 Egyptian pounds. The market dates back to the 19th century, when sellers congregated around the Azbaqiyah district, often moving between coffee shops to sell their wares. The area was already a bustling cultural hub by then, with an opera house and art galleries nearby. As the urban fabric of the area changed, the market had to be renovated. The market lost its footfall over the years, relocating repeatedly as more metro lines were constructed. As such, the market's renovation addresses many of the concerns that both sellers and patrons had over the years, perhaps ushering in a new, more stable chapter for Sur al-Azbaqiyya and inspiring a new generation of Egyptian writers and readers. The inventor of the Rubik Cube, Erno Rubik, and Hungarian Grand Chess Master Judith Polgar launched the first tournament of the joint game called Rubik Chess in Budapest on Tuesday in what Rubik says he hoped would remind people how to use our hands and minds. Rubik Chess is a 5-round team tournament for students in Paris where one player takes on the role of chess player and the other becomes a Rubik Cube solver. During the Blitz chess game, 3 randomly timed cube solving breaks interrupt the match. During these breaks, both cube solvers race to solve a scrambled Rubik's Cube, and the faster solver gives a crucial time advantage to their teammate.
We are slowly forgetting to using our hands. We are making, not writing, but pushing the buttons. The machines are doing and fabricating and so on and so forth to transfer. But I believe our hands and our mind together made us human. So in that sense, I think it's important.
Rubik said this at the launch, referring to the increasing reliance on technology amongst young people. Chess Grandmaster Judith Polgar also lamented about the effect the growth of artificial intelligence has on people's memory muscle. As Tuesday's first tournament, as many as 50 teams of elementary school students participated. The Essen Light Festival, which kicked off its 10th edition on Thursday, is celebrating its milestone anniversary, featuring installations reflecting the theme Imagine Peace. This year, the festival features past favorites and new installations.
I think a good thing about the Essen Light Festival is that it's pretty international and many cultures come together. They mix in a form of art. It's about peace, it's about harmony, light, coming together. And this is what peace is all about, coming together, not confronting each other. And I think this is a thing which the Essen Light Festival does very well for 10 years now.
Returning highlights include Evanescent, the soap-like bubble installation by Sydney-based Atelier Sisu, and House of Cards, comprising 126 illuminated playing cards designed by duo Meraf Ethan and Gaston Zah. The world premiere, Fractions by Dresden-based artist Claudia Reh, explores the fragments left by war as metaphors for what peace means for each individual. Launched a decade ago with a modest number of installations, the Essen Light Festival has grown into one of the Europe's top 10 light festivals by visitors and budget. The annual event, held at the beginning of October, will run through 12th of October this year.
That concludes today's edition of World Today. In our top story, all 23 Malaysians detained in Israel to be flown out within 48 hours. Till then, I'm Olivia Nicholas, Malaysia Madani, Rakyat Disantuni. Thank you for watching. Have a fantastic day.